All right, sir, if I can get your name and your title.
Tony Flood II, Mayor of Tremont City.
And you were talking to me earlier about how you're connected to the tragic accident where the child was killed on the first day of school. Can you elaborate more on that?
Well, I'm involved, used to be involved pretty deeply with the school. I mean, I've had all three kids go there. I graduated from there. So seen the family around a lot, still see the family around a lot. Just now they're missing their youngest son. My son seen the bus rolled over. Thank goodness that he sent us a picture that morning saying it wasn't him. But I actually went to pick him up from the school that morning. And he said he wanted to stay at the school, so if anybody needed help up there, he was there to help them. So, but him, the boy that passed, and my son were pretty good friends at school. So,
And how does it make you feel? And obviously you represent the community as well. But I mean, so how does it make you personally feel, knowing that your son was potentially at risk because there's this bigger problem that is just coming over and having a direct impact on not just Springfield itself, but the entire surrounding area?
I'll be 100% honest. Words can't describe how it makes me feel. I'm ashamed of leaders and leadership allowing this kind of stuff to just pretty much invade. The lawlessness that's happened, and it is not just the Haitians. I mean, they're ignoring anybody driving without a license. I'm scared to death. My wife works in downtown Springfield. She works on East Main Street in Springfield at a bank. I won't mention its name. But she's overwhelmed with the Haitians that come in there, can't speak any English. They do not understand our money or anything else. My daughter works right beside her, and I'm scared to death that one of these days I'm going to get a phone call or a visit by a state trooper or something, that they've been hit, they've been rolled over for anything. I mean, you get that anyways. I mean, any day you get in the car, it's a risk. But now it's even worse, especially if you head that way.
It didn't used to be that way.
Yeah.
A couple years ago is what you're saying.
I was always scared. I mean, you got kids out there, people that you love, driving and everything, and anything can happen. Anybody can cause an accident. But the amount of them that's happening anymore, and it scares me to death. You know, honestly, it pisses me off that we've allowed it to hit this point. I mean, there's kids getting killed. I'm on a local fire department up by the school, and a couple weeks ago, two Haitians went left the center at each other and caused a wreck. And a semi-truck tied up in the power lines they knocked down. Stuff like that shouldn't be happening anywhere. There you go. So.
And what would your message be to the rest of the country that, you know, as I was kind of asking earlier, that might say, well, this is being overblown. There's racist, racist reasonings behind it. What's your response to that?
Has nothing to do with race. Law doesn't know a color. There shouldn't be. There's nothing in the law that states, you know, a black guy can't do this and a white guy can't do that. It's not about that. It's us as citizens. I'm trying to figure out my words here. So hopefully you can
Don't worry. Well, don't worry. We'll edit. Don't worry. We'll edit around it.
I'm trying to think.
Well, they think you're nice.
It has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with illegal acts and the amount of them. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, green, yellow. If you're in this country, you follow this country's laws. If you live in Ohio, you follow Ohio's laws. If you live in Florida, you follow Florida's laws. And that's the same way with, you know, Tremont City has its own little set of laws. You got to follow those too if you live here or if you are here. I don't go to another country and follow our laws. You're not going to follow theirs. And that's the way it should be.
They're not, right?
And so I'm assuming you trust President Trump to handle this issue should he get back into office as opposed to Harris.
100%. I trust that Trump's heart is in the right place, but the problem is it ain't just up to him. He's a figurehead. You got a House and a Senate that hasn't done their job in over 150 years. I think they ought to start doing their job.
Yeah, we've seen a major influx of Haitian population driving through Tremont. None of them have a license, and if they do, they're temporary permits. Obviously, you can't drive on a temporary permit in the state of Ohio on a temporary permit. I've towed many cars because of the case that there is no driver's license. It's, the accidents we're having around here, they all can be prevented if everybody would get on the same page, all law enforcement, and start towing these vehicles. I know it seems like we're singling people out, but we do it the same no matter what race, nationality, creed. Doesn't matter. If you're breaking the law, you're breaking the law, and we tow the vehicles. I'm just one person. I'm the chief out here, and I'm the police officer. I'm the road officer. We don't get no reimbursement from the state or federal to be able to send people to school, to have more officers on the road. So it makes a very big impact. I'm putting in over 100 hours every pay period just trying to keep the village safe as much as one person can do. So yeah, the population has exploded. No one knows what to do about it. I go to the chiefs meetings, nobody has an answer. Everybody has a different policy and procedure in place. Springfield, they don't tow vehicles, and so that creates a bigger problem for us because now they're driving out on these county roads and they don't have the experience to do that. So we end up with accidents, people getting killed, so.
And what would you want the rest of the country to know about just the spillover effect from Springfield and how, as you said, it's just you for the small town, and I mean, is this at all sustainable?
It's not sustainable. There's no way we can sustain bringing in that many immigrants, no matter who they are, that fast. It's impossible. We don't have the capability of keeping up with all of it. So
The amount of unlicensed drivers that our cops stop is unacceptable, and we don't stop them unless they're speeding or doing some other kind of infraction. When we get an unlicensed driver, okay, if it's their car, we have it towed. We call a tow company. They come pick it up because you're not allowed to let an unlicensed driver drive the car, or the village is liable if they get in a wreck. If the car belongs to somebody else, we contact that somebody else to come get the car. When they come to get the car, if we find out they had given that person permission, they get cited for unlawful entrustment. Okay? That's what the Ohio Revised Code states to do. This subject has been brought up to the city many a times in what they call the police chiefs meeting, that our police and all the local police chiefs meet every quarter, and the city refuses to do that. This is spilling out. They do illegal U-turns all up and down the road. I don't know how many times I about got hit pulling out of the lot myself from somebody doing a U-turn. They drive on the wrong side of the road. Not just left to center. I mean on the wrong side of the road. This is not London, England. We drive on the right side of the road. Okay? Everybody here used to go to Bechtel Avenue to shop. Walmart and everything's right there on Bechtel Avenue. Now most people here go north to Urbana to shop because they can't tolerate the attitudes, okay, the pushiness, the inappropriate behavior of the migrants that are in these stores. Nobody feels safe. I've had a CCW since they first came out in Ohio and made them legal. I was a former military cop, okay? I don't go anywhere without a weapon on me. It's out of control. Everybody keeps yelling at the federal government. Yeah, they're the root cause. But the county seat, Springfield, Ohio, is not enforcing the law for the bad driving and everything. That's caused one of our children in the school district to get killed on his first day of school last year. If they would enforce that law, it would cut down the amount of bad drivers, illegal drivers, at least would help some, and the people would feel more like the citizens are getting treated equally. You're going to cite a citizen for speeding, but you won't cite this migrant for speeding.
And why do you think that is? Why do you think they're not enforcing?
Well, I will let Mark get into that here in a little bit because he has facts. I've only got hearsay. One of the things I've been told is when they are cited, after 30 days, them trying to get into court and not having an interpreter, it gets postponed and postponed. And then after 30 days, the city court just throws the tickets out. Okay? You and I don't get that. Okay? We're either guilty or innocent that day, pay your fine, go home. Okay? So, it's pretty obvious what's going on. Okay? Forget the mushy stuff. I'm all for immigrants. This TPS, this mass influx, is not the way you do anything.
And so,
common sense.
And so, has there been any other spillover effects besides the bad driving?
Oh
I guess I'll ask him that. But
I've got to be careful on how I answer your question because I am a village official.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
Okay. I can tell you, the police have cited and towed a migrant's vehicle for no license. Okay. Our courts are Wednesday nights. It's happened on many occasions, but I'll name this one. Okay. Shows up to court driving his car again and no license and got caught again when he left the building.
It's the fourth time.
4 of them.
Yeah.
That man's been cited for. So, yeah, it's a spillover. At what time? Just like the U-turns, you see we have hardly any curbs, okay? They go up over the curbs. We got kids and old people up and down these sidewalks all the time. They don't get mail delivery to their house. It's all done by post office box at the post office. So people are up and down the street all the time. I don't know how many of them about got hit. On their bicycles or just walking down the street.
Have your name again, please.
Yeah, Mark Sanders.
Mark Sanders. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And so, what has been some of the spillover effects from Springfield? Because obviously a lot of attention is on Springfield itself, but there is towns and stuff around here. So, and since you're local, what have you seen around here in regards to all the Haitians that have come past couple of years?
Yeah, probably the most impactful spillover has been the absolute shortage of housing. We've had a lot of greed has come to the surface. A lot of people that have been lifelong renters in properties have been served eviction notices or non-renewal leases and given 30 days to get out. And what they'll do is instead of having a single family in a home that's maybe a 3-bedroom, they'll actually rent bedrooms out to individual families. So the landlord will, technically triple his rent by virtue of getting people in there. And again, Haitians are a very communal group, so they're not really adverse to living 3 or 4 families in a home, or even 3 or 4 non-families in a home. The healthcare, they've decimated Rocking Horse, which is a federally funded clinic. In Haitian, clinic means hospital. So they've had individuals actually drop their pregnant wives that are in labor off at the clinic, and the clinics had to call the squad. The squads had to haul them to the hospital for them to give birth. Same as the word permit when it comes to getting a license. Permit in Haitian means permission. So when they get their permit, which they're allowed to have a translator to get, who will answer the questions for the individual as opposed to them actually knowing the content, they'll have somebody answer for them. They'll falsely get a permit. They think they're done. They jump behind the wheel of a car and find out they're not even close to being done. Individuals in the city are buying vehicles and renting them per day to individuals that have licenses or have permits or have nothing. So there's a lot of capitalistic thought put into this, but actually criminal behavior that's actually evolving from it.
And so it seems that the issue has been raised with the city many times.
Tell them about your attending the meetings for
Is it just being ignored, or are they just, or as you kind of alluded to, or as he alluded to earlier, there just seems like, well, it's just the federal government, there's nothing we can do.
Again, I've tried to research both sides. I've tried to walk that fence to not lay blame where blame doesn't be deserved. I think, obviously the federal government kind of trumps state or local policy. Supremacy clause is there, and it's being utilized. They can't prevent them from coming into town. They can't prevent them from signing up for benefits if they're federally funded benefits. I think the city's doing a lot. I think they can do more. I think one of the best cases, I actually last night got into a discussion on Facebook with a Springfield city police officer who insisted he couldn't tow non-licensed driven cars. And, basically Tremont's doing it without any kind of blowback, legal blowback. German Township, which is the township that Tremont lies in, is doing it without any blowback. Springfield is not doing it because I think there's been a kind of a stand down order given by either the city manager or organizations within the city that want to make it more accommodating and more feeling good to come here. When in turn, what they do is they're complicit to these people driving and causing accidents, causing physical injury, financial injury, and other, property damage to people who may have just paid off their car and have liability. Somebody runs into them, they're not covered because the driver of the car that hit them doesn't have a license or insurance, and they're out. So there's a huge uproar for that. I know my mother-in-law's been hit. I've been hit twice in the back of my truck. It tore their car up.
By Haitians.
By Haitians. Basically, it destroyed their car. Didn't hurt my bump. All it did was scratch my rust on my hitch. So it was their loss, more humorous than anything. But again, the police they're almost morally crushed because every day they show up to 5, 6, 7 of these accidents, and they see this. It's like the movie Groundhog Day. It's the same thing over and over. I got you, babe. And every day it's the same thing. I really think, and I got into a debate with the Springfield law director, and at the beginning of the debate, she said that it was against the law for them to tow vehicles. By the end of our debate, she acquiesced that basically it was officer discretion. Well, when you have discretion in something, it means you have a choice. If that choice is taken away and you mandate that every vehicle that basically is driven by an illegal, let me back up, every vehicle driven by somebody without a license is towed, you make it financially unfeasible, you make it very inconvenient, and you make that person think 2 or 3 more times about whether they want to do it again. And you start ticketing the people, allowing these people to drive their vehicles without a license, you hit them in the pocketbook and they'll stop doing the wrong thing.
And with a lot of attention being focused on Springfield and the area, what's your response to people who say that all of this is just being overblown? It's because they're black. There's racism, xenophobia type thinking behind it. As someone who lives in the area and obviously has experience, what's your response to that?
My response is, if you take and defend a culture or a people or a skin tone because of that skin tone, you're no less racist than if you are against that person for the same thing. So that's where the racism is drawn out. Defending somebody, irrespective of what they've done because of whether they're black or they're white, that's true racism in its truest form. Again, we're not against any people. We're against acts and actions, and then the repercussions of those actions. The people that are actually screaming the loudest are the ones that have impacted the least. They've never had a family member injured. They've never had a financial loss. This district lost an 11-year-old boy the first day of school. And, I actually, because of that, now drive a school bus for the very district that young man lost, for this district. My daughter wasn't in the accident, but actually was in a bus that witnessed the accident. She sent me a text that morning showed a school bus on its top, and the text said, "Dad, there's been a wreck. It's not us. I'm fine. Love you." And then she told her counselor later on, because she wanted to get back on a bus. She didn't want to ride a bus anymore. And one of the things her counselor was able to share with us is she said that if I drove a bus, it would make her feel better about getting back on a bus, even though I wouldn't be driving her bus, but she would know that there would be kids that would be protected. So now I drive a school bus for the district. So again, you know, there are things that can be prevented. That guy should have not been in the country. He shouldn't have been driving. He was working for a company, local, that was actually supplied to them by a temp agency named First Diversity, and who brags about placing 20,000 Haitians in this area in temp jobs. And one of the things, as far as their contract being a temp, they can never be hired full time by that company they're working for. So they're indentured servants. They actually owe their soul to the company store, which is that temp agency. So, you know, indentured servitude was something that was made illegal decades and decades and decades ago, and here it's back again.
So the debate between Trump and Harris, it's tonight. What do you think that this issue is going to have an impact on the presidential election? Because it's obviously not just Springfield that's feeling the effects of it. You know, it started at the border.
Right.
They're all here now, and there seems to be a lot of problems, you know, that you've highlighted. What would you want either Trump or Harris to know about this issue?
Well, the biggest thing is the indiscretions and the absolute ignorant policies of the Biden administration has made every city in this nation a border town. I don't care whether you're in Nebraska, Florida, California, or in Maine, it's a border town. And everyone's been affected, you know, impacted. And I think that people need to look at two things. Number one is your neighborhood still safe? And number two, is your pocketbook still as heavy as it was, or is it much lighter? I think that first and foremost, the government's job is to protect our borders and protect its citizens. And they've done a very poor job. This administration's done a very poor job of that. And I think people need to look at that. Are they able to lay their head down at night, relatively comfortable that they can pay their bills this month, and relatively comfortable they can wake up tomorrow morning and their family be safe? Those two questions, ask those. If you can answer yes or no on either one of those, that should be your deciding factor on who you're voting for.
And so I'm assuming you trust Trump on this issue more than Harris.
Without a doubt, 100%.
And that's a pretty common feeling in the area?
Yes. I drive a school bus in this district, and I count on one hand how many Harris wall signs I've seen. It would take me a calculator and an abacus to count how many Trump signs I've seen.